This is a story about an Iranian couple who are living in Los Angeles. They've been visiting friends in another part of the city, and she doesn't drink and hasn't been drinking, but he's had a few drinks at a party or a social gathering of them and their friends who all work in the medical professions. They have a fractious relationship, and they also have a 1-year-old baby, a child. And the child was with them when they visited their friends, and when they were driving back home, they were constantly bickering with each other, and the woman was getting upset because the baby was getting woken up by them arguing with each other in the car. She wanted to drive herself because she was sober. He stubbornly refused to let her get behind the wheel, and that was basically the cause of the problem. But the man was relying on the satellite navigation system to get them back home to their house at night, very late in the evening, heading up towards midnight. The satellite nav was malfunctioning, and he ended up driving around for 2 hours without going around in circles. And he wouldn't admit that he didn't know where he was, and as they continued to argue and bicker, the baby got very upset, which then made the woman get even more upset, and his driving became more reckless as he was getting frustrated and stubbornly insisting he would get them back. The baby was beginning to wail and cry, stressed, in distress, and he was weaving all over the road, and he ran over something in the dark in a kind of urban area, and he said it's alright, there's nothing happened, but she insisted on stopping the car to check what it was, and he said, well, it's only just a cat or something, so what's the big deal? And she said, well, something was on the road there, we need to see what it was. So he gets out of the car, and in this urban area, which is very dark and creepy, and tries to check underneath the car to see if there's anything amiss, any bashes or anything. But he just says there's nothing wrong here. She doesn't quite believe him, but they get back in the car and they can't find their way home. So she says to him, well, why don't we check in to an hotel? He says, don't be silly. We don't need to check into an hotel. We're only half an hour away. And she said, well, he said that 2 hours ago. So he relents and says, okay, well, he plunges into his sat-nav and asks for the nearest hotel. And so their car starts to steer them to a nearby hotel, which is huge. A huge hotel, and it's grand in its stature. And when they go up the steps to go into this hotel, the doors are sealed. They're not open, so there's no way of walking in. And a vagrant comes out of the shadows at the step and challenges the man, and he gets a bit aggressive as to who are you and what do you want, and then the vagrant mutters something unintelligible and then walks away into the shadows, which is very unsettling for them. She just wants to get inside, get some sleep and look after the child. So the door opens automatically after they chap on it, or almost bang on it. The door opens up and it appears in this grand hotel with multiple floors, possibly 20 floors, maybe even more high. The stories, they look around in the foyer, big grand foyer, and there's no one about. The lights are low. It appears there's not actually anyone in the hotel. And she says, well, maybe we should go somewhere else, which has got people in it and it's a bit crowded. She's thinking about her safety and her child. He says, no, this is good enough. And then this kind of rather creepy guy comes out to the reception and says, well, there's no rooms available. He says, apart from suite 414. That's all we have, but it's a suite. And he says, oh, okay, that'll do. And then he says, the doors will be locked from now, so you won't be able to get out unless you ask permission. You need to ask permission to get the doors unlocked. But here's your key for your room. And he says a few other things which seem a bit strange. And then he's welcome to the hotel. And they head up on the lift up to the level 20 and check into the suite 414. And they don't see a soul. There doesn't seem to be anyone else in there. And in fact, they're locked in this hotel. And overnight, lots of strange things happen. People, shadowy figures creep around just out of eyeshot, out of the peripheral vision, and even a young boy appears chapping on the door, a ghostly-like figure. And as the night goes on, they realise that this is no ordinary hotel, and also it doesn't appear that there's any way to get out of it. May well be they're stuck in there. And one figure actually says to them, a shadowy man briefly passes by and says, there's no way out. Once you walk in here, you're in for good.